Welcome to the Bull and Bear Show, episode number 25, and I'm here with my co-host, King Earl. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty well. I can't complain. It's a
Very
beautiful
good.
day. Been working, so wasn't watching hockey like you.
I'm actually bouncing between hockey, basketball, and UFC right now, so it's pretty cool.
Ooh, best of all
Now,
worlds.
yeah, I got 3 different things on the go. Plus, we're live here and we're streaming on multiple devices. Let me just set
Do you,
this one.
do you have the picture-in-picture for your TV so you can watch all three at the same time?
I don't. I think that's too intense. I can't do that. I like to just watch one at a time.
Right?
I like to watch them one at a time. But yeah, you know what we're doing on this episode, it's going to be a little different. We're going to be doing a one-on-one instead of having a group of guests with King Earl. We're going to find out more about, who he is, where he's come from, his background. And what we want to do is we're going to bounce between the biggest news of the week, the biggest topics that we want to talk about. And here on the Bull and Bear Show, we talk about everything finance, trending news, breaking news, you name it. We talk about it and we trade it and we invest in it. And we're going to find out more about who King Earl is and his top 10 picks for crypto and his opinions on everything that's happening in the market. And we're going to be doing this with our co-hosts over the next few weeks, especially over the Christmas holidays. And I want to wish everyone that's watching also a happy Veterans Day today and a happy Remembrance Day. And I want to wish everyone who is celebrating a day today, remembering people that have fought in wars, a happy day. Hopefully everyone's given them a chance to have a moment of silence and we can remember the people that have fought for us to have freedom. And obviously some places in the world have more freedom than others. And it's really scary right now, this world. There's a lot of bad things that are happening. There's also a lot of good things that are happening. So we're going to talk about all of that. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been on fire. You can see it on the screen here. Bitcoin has been on an upward trajectory. We've been talking about it. You've predicted it. I've predicted it. Other members have predicted it, that it would go higher. It has gone higher. It's kind of doing exactly what we've all said it would do. It's doing exactly what you said it would do right now, going into November and going into the end of 2023. So just want to know, what's your opinion right now on Bitcoin and the crypto market in general?
I view the next couple of days are going to be a little bit shaky, especially with Bitcoin. There's been a couple of use cases closing and then allocated funds that are actually getting moved for Bitcoin itself. So that's what's going to cause a little bit of down spiral here. It's not going to be that big. I mean, we're only like 1.5 billion. So it's not going to be too much, but it's going to be enough to cause a little bit of drama. But I think that the good news of the ETFs will continue to boost it, along with the halving coming up as catalyst for people to be buying in. We got people opening up new mining places, so and continued adoption is just going to continue to drive it up. So,
well, I appreciate your feedback on Bitcoin. Obviously, everyone knows I love Bitcoin. I have a huge Bitcoin on my desk. I do own Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I've been a holder for the last few years, and I've been investing in Bitcoin since 2017. And unfortunately, I've probably sold a lot of times way too soon. So right now I'm holding and I'm looking for a great exit point. And I really believe that exit point is going to come around 2 years to this day, almost to the day. So I'm going to try my best to hold it, but it's difficult when we're up as much as we're up. I know you're doing extremely well with your crypto portfolio, and I know you like to trade all the different cryptos that exist out there, and you've done very well. So I want to congratulate you on that. And my first question I want to ask you is, who is King Earl?
well, I'm a social live stream media influencer, and pretty much just somebody who likes to give out knowledge and advice from my own personal experiences and research that I do. And, I just like to have intellectual conversations with intellectual people. And so intelligence goes a long way, and just having something intellectual to talk about, whether it be just a debate or, we're sitting there arguing, sometimes might have to throw some fisticuffs and get down at the end to prove a point. But, as long as, it's intellectual and learning, who doesn't like to learn? There's a famous saying is the the day that you stop learning is the day that you're dead. And they say you're supposed to get wiser the older that you get, and you can't do that without learning new things or learning things that you don't know. So past that, being on a live streamer or social, been on several different platforms. I started live streaming in 2006, and started getting into social media a little bit. I don't do too much networking. I just find a group of people and then I correlate with them primarily, and then I'll branch from there. People know me across multiple platforms, but I just like to learn and associate with different people. But past that, I'm from the United States, in a state in the southeastern corner called Alabama. It's a very backwoods hillbilly, so we used to have a saying that I'm a high tech redneck. You know, this is what they used to say because I was all into computers and everything. I served 4 years in the military with a deployment to South Korea and to Iraq. And then when I got out, I went to go ahead and pursue my degree in robotics engineering, and moved from there directly into logistical transport. And I now own one company, and we cleared a little bit under $1 million last year. So we're doing fairly well, and just trying to move from there and find out where to invest my money, talk to people who know about investing, and see if I can make money grow like a tree so I can shake it one day.
Well, you're doing a great job. I want to congratulate you on that. And one of the topics that we've been talking about a lot, obviously, is Bitcoin. And we just talked about it. I want to talk a little bit more. So Bitcoin surges to its highest level in 2023, notching a 130% gain over the past year. So my question to you is, do you think that this move in Bitcoin is sustainable?
Oh yeah, it's definitely sustainable. Like I said, the only thing that we have coming up, is that some of the funding that's been allocated is moving. I mean, even Elon Musk was talking about it before the beginning of the year. The Chinese were talking about it. The $1 trillion or $18 trillion earthquake that's going to be coming to crypto markets. How when we never cleared over 4 trillion. Your number's a little bit blown unless you're talking about Swift getting in and then pulling money, and then they still got to hold it. So I mean, they're not going to be putting that much money in, and yeah, we're going to be good. At the end of the day, we're good. The halving's coming. We have a clear trajectory where to go. People want to make money. So let's do it.
Yeah, and right now I'm sitting here looking at the price of Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin is at 36,972. So it
Yep.
is performing extremely well. It's had a phenomenal year, and it has done extremely well for anyone who's invested in it. And obviously, if you bought it in 2021 when it hit 50,000 or 60,000, you're still down, or even 40,000, you're still down. But for anyone that's bought it since it's been below 30, or even below 20, is up and doing extremely well on Bitcoin right now. So it's nice to see that Bitcoin is doing extremely well. And I believe that this trend will continue like you do. Now,
Yep.
the next question
Financial
is,
advice, though,
yes, no,
is
yeah,
that there is no financial advice on here, but I do see Bitcoin going down to 34,000, potentially 34,500 here in the coming week before it jumps all the way up to 42. So that's my predicament where I'm playing to. So
okay. Now, my next question to you is, why did you start trading?
well, I started trading. I actually got in, and I had a couple of buddies talking about it, and I saw Bitcoin soaring, and this was pre-COVID, and I'm like, well, I've heard a lot about Bitcoin. When I was over in Iraq, Bitcoin was just coming out. I thought you could watch YouTube videos and look for Bitcoin somewhere in the background to try to mine it out of the video. I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was or how to obtain it, but I wanted it even back then. So when it became more readily available and I heard more people talking about it, I was like, I want some. Where do I get it? How do I get it? And then I bought it, and then it was at $44,000, and it crashed so hard because of COVID. And I was like, oh, I just lost all this money, and I don't know what to do about it. I told my buddies, they were all investing in the Doge and Bitcoin, and I was like, pull out of Doge now, pull out of Doge. And so I was involved in that, and then I was live streaming one day, and Blaze on here, he live streams with us. He was sitting there, and one of our buddies actually came over and started talking about a crypto project that he wanted us to get our help on and our opinions. And so I was like, well, I don't know much about crypto, but I'll start doing a little bit of research. So I got on the phone with Blaze, and I spent about 6 hours tearing into the project, figuring out everything about it, making up my opinions and thoughts on it, and then going and doing research on my opinions and thoughts to figure out that it was nothing but a rug pull. And I was like, we warned him, but he said it was good. So we went with him, and I went ahead and invested money. And at the end of the project, I'm the only one that profited from it and made, 6 times my money. So, you know, I'm not hating, but that's how I got in. Trying to help somebody not get rug pulled, and in the end, they got rug pulled, but I still made it out good. So, and since then, I love making money into money.
And have you made money as a trader? Are you up on your investing?
Oh, I'm definitely up. This week alone, I'm already up 12 times my money.
Wow, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible, Earl. Now I want to ask you about this next topic. So Bitcoin had a great week, but Ethereum had an even bigger week. And that was due to the fact that BlackRock is now saying that they're wanting to get into having a Ethereum ETF. What do you think about this news that BlackRock wants to have an Ethereum ETF?
I think I brought it to you guys here live last week before it even broke the headlines as a predicament. So you heard it here first on the richtvshow.com. And make sure y'all keep subscribing and hit that like button. But, I view that it's good. But, I mean, one of the reasons that it had such a big week is because it was lagging so far behind Bitcoin, right? It's supposed to be pumping, especially after the Shanghai merger that went on. We're burning more than we have ever burnt before. We're introducing less new tokens, so it's hyper deflationary now versus hyperinflationary because we're actually burning at a much higher rate. But I mean, we need more activity on the network to enact the burn mechanism for the percentage on the WETH for the blockchain. So we have to hit a certain amount of WETH for the transactions. Once we hit that, we start burning more Ethereum. So the more transactions and the more activity and the more gas fees, the more Ethereum we're burning. So the more price you're actually getting out in the end. And that's the whole point of it. But we've been lagging behind because Bitcoin's taken all the news. And, I view it's a good thing. I view it's great news. However, do I agree with what they're doing? I don't like making big companies rich. That's why I want to take corporations' money and out of what they invest. But, that's my whole thing. Get in before they invest and then take their money. But, it's distribution of wealth. I like the ETFs because I predicted it that they was going to do it because it made no sense for them to just do Bitcoin alone. Because what they're going to do is they're going to buy Ethereum, right? And they're going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to hold both of them. And you're never going to get custody of it. You're just going to rent it and have a value of it. Meanwhile, they have your tokens the same as they do in banking. And they have them staked where they're earning 6% interest yearly APR off of Ethereum and much lower on Bitcoin. That's why they wanted Ethereum, because the staking ability of Ethereum has a much higher payout than Bitcoin. So it's only financial. I mean, it's the only smart thing for them to do, considering it's a commodity, so and not a security. So that's the only thing they could actually invest in with a high APR to get their money. And it just made sense to me, and it made sense to them, obviously, So they're going to do it. They're going to give you the cash value when you buy and sell it through their margins and everything, and they're just going to continue to collect their 6%. So they buy another one and collect 6% from that, continue to do it as they buy at the supply. So I don't view them buying huge amounts in the beginning, but I view as they earn that 6% interest, they're going to continue to buy more. So, a few years down the road, maybe the next split, they'll own a quarter of the supply. You never know how much they're actually going to invest and how much they're going to make.
Now, I think it's also going to be a really good thing for investors because there's a lot of investors when I talk to them about Bitcoin, I talk to them about crypto, they don't understand it. It's a big unknown. They don't want to hold their crypto on exchanges because exchanges go bankrupt. They don't want to get hacked. These are major real problems. They don't want to lose their password. You hear these crazy stories of people that have thousands of Bitcoin stuck on a computer or on a laptop somewhere and they can't find the password to get access to their keys so they can get access to their Bitcoin. So the advantages to these Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs is for those investors that are high net worth investors or institutions, businesses, people that are older that just don't understand crypto, they can now buy Bitcoin and get exposure to Bitcoin through the stock market, have no concerns about hacking, have no concerns about putting it in the wrong exchange that's going to go bankrupt. They can literally just buy it like a stock. And if the Bitcoin goes up like a stock would, and Bitcoin goes up 130% this year, then their ETF would go up 130%. So as an investor, it has all the upside of Bitcoin without all the downside of potentially getting hacked, potentially losing your password, potentially the exchange going bankrupt. To me, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, to me, I feel like that's going to bring in a lot of buying, like a ton of buying.
Well,
Ton.
I view that it's going to bring in buying, right? It's going to bring in buying pressure. It's also going to bring in a lot of selling pressure because a lot of the guys actually involved in stocks, they're not really long term, like especially in like Canada where you can actually do day trading, right?
Yeah,
So they're going to be trying to pump into it. They're not into crypto for what crypto is. They're into crypto to make money,
that's
same
right.
as they are stocks. So it's not going to be your traditional crypto investor that everybody thinks is a traditional crypto investor because even crypto people are hungry for money. Don't get it wrong. They're going to take your money if they can, and they will, right? It's dog eat dog world out here. But the thing at the end of the day is JP Morgan just came out today and actually introduced their holy grail mechanism, which will allow them to do 24/7 trading on stocks, margins, and crypto on the blockchain. However, I haven't heard nothing about BlackRock actually enabling that they're going to have 24/7 trading unless it's under futures for a Bitcoin, right? Or their ETF. Because even though they're moving it over to their exchange, do they require the 24/7 trading? Do they do it? Because they don't do it with stocks unless you're trading futures for the morning.
Well, I know some people have talked about implementing it. Maybe this will be the start of implementing it because it would give them the reason to do it because Bitcoin is 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but that's going to put once they do that though, it's going to definitely force more regulatory power through the governments to stop that because they don't want it right now where you're doing day trading, and they definitely don't want it, in the future. They want to actually restrict you from being able to long things or short things and drive the markets down because they view that's what's hurting the markets. Is everybody just shorting it? But
Yeah, I wish they did stop shorting. I think shorting really does hurt the market, especially naked shorting. When you're
except for
shorting
Kramer,
that don't even
except for
exist.
Jim Kramer, he should short everything.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, Jim Cramer told everyone to sell Bitcoin a month ago, and Bitcoin's gone up like what? How much? 30% in a month since he told
30,
everyone to sell.
31% or 36, 37% since the 31st when he said Bitcoin was going down.
Well, I follow Kramer pretty closely, and he actually told everyone in his community to sell at 17,000, and today Bitcoin's
Mm-hmm.
37,000. So he was way off on that one. All right, I want to ask you next question. So, what's your scariest moment as an investor, or scariest moments that you remember as an investor? I think we all have some.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. You look at COVID, and you look at the whole world going down. I mean, that was a pretty big one. Especially, like I said, I was just getting involved in Bitcoin, and I was just buying things on PayPal because that's the only way I had access to things because I didn't know, you know, crypto wallets. I didn't know none of this. The only options I had was, you know, Robinhood, and I couldn't even get on there. I tried through Kraken, I couldn't get through there. I tried on Binance, couldn't get on there. But PayPal would take my money gladly, so I just gave it to them and started investing. And so we did great from there. But I just started losing, and I was like, "What is going on?" And then once I finally figured out everything and started learning, we had FTX that went down. And it's like, oh no, Terra Luna just crashed overnight, and then
Yeah.
it just had the dead kitty skip all the way down to a skid mark at the end. And I was trying to make money on that, but it was so horrendous because the only reason I moved to different exchanges or keep different exchanges is exposure to different tokens. So if I only have access to those tokens and I'm making, 12x days or 6x days, or even 60% or 30%, whatever I'm making, and I'm only making it on that wallet, and all of a sudden access is shut down and I had stored up liquidity locked there for trading, it just hurts, It just hurts because, I mean, let's just say on the FTX wallet, they just introduced Ethereum Wrapped or Ethereum Works, right? And because of the Shanghai merger. And so they had the old contract of Ethereum, and then they had the new contract of Ethereum. And I was given the old contract an airdrop because I actually held Ethereum, and then you couldn't do nothing with it. So I had to actually send it over to FTX to actually be able to use it and sell it and buy it and trade it. And then I was talking to you, I'd already made 100 times my money in the first week. So I'd already 1x'd it. And then I was already trading for the next one and I was getting ready for the next pump and it crashed. And there went my extra 75% along with all my funds I had locked into it. So
Terrible.
overnight.
That
So
sucks.
I mean that's some of the scariest ones besides governmental shutdowns. I used to be scared about regulatory powers. I know Brazil's working on passing 26% interest. I know UK's trying to tax it. Everybody's trying to get their tax money without regulating it more, and they just want money, 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 money without regulatory or counting it as a currency. And they don't know the proper way to do it, and it's going to take money just to make them talk. I guess just got to keep them pressed for it, but you know Sam Bankman-Fried couldn't do it, that's for sure.
Yeah. That guy's a whole nother story and a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. So let's talk about this. This is one of the biggest pieces of the news for the week. So Powell reinforces Fed's cautious approach towards further interest rate hikes. So he decided for the second meeting in a row to leave rates unchanged. He did not hike rates. The market did well at the end of the week. Obviously, Bitcoin and cryptos have done extremely well based on this news that they're not going to keep increasing rates. But it does sound like he may have to increase rates at some point in time between now and next year around this time, maybe once or twice more, and then maybe even start bringing rates down. What do you think is going to happen with this rate situation? Obviously, it's caused a lot of problem for people. A lot of people think we're already in a recession. I know I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it in your business, in the trucking industry, where it's different. Things have changed since COVID. I've seen it in my business as well. They're just, people are not as willing to invest even in themselves and in their own businesses right now because things are tighter, because there's higher interest, because there's higher rates. Everyone's getting tighter and everyone's getting squeezed a little bit tighter. So what do you think about this?
Oh, I view that unfortunately we are going to need more interest rate hikes if that's the only mechanism that this old man has. Eventually, he'll just figure out that a recession reboots the system a lot faster than soft blows to the banking industry because now you have banks that are shutting down accounts, denying access to your accounts, deleting accounts, and then just banning users from it and taking your money. And it's all because they're losing a crap load of money on bonds. And this man has not figured out that when he says he's not changing interest rates, that everybody goes and buys bonds and drives the market numbers up. And when he gets his market numbers, oh my God, they're higher. And then he says, well, I'll sell or I'll raise the interest rates. And they say, well, I'll just sell what I just bought. And then the market, so it's just flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop. And, where's Bricks at selling these bonds back to us? Because that would be a faster rate than what, the actual investors are buying them at. So, to get it into a more hard blow where we can actually get the numbers up, we might need something going on. But I do view that we'll need some more interest rate hikes, considering that's his solution to the situation. Um, he was discussing the fact that he's not scared to do it and he's not going to do it, but he already came out and said that we're going to have one more by the end of the year. We've talked about it multiple times on here. You know, our thought process on the situation, but he might be just lightening us up for a soft blow right before Christmas or the end of the new year when he actually raises it, the week after Christmas. If he can actually make it into a courthouse where he can make a speech without getting demonstrators for the Green New Deal beating on the door and screaming, demonstrating, and you know, don't talk to Secretary Yellen about it because she's been coming out all day and saying she doesn't see any situations going on with anything, and that it might require her to actually do her job as financial ministry, and meanwhile you have Moody degrading our stability down to negative rather than stable for our credit. So things are happening, and it's all because the money's not going to the banks because they're having to pay the bonds. I mean, they just paid what, $150 billion in bonds that they lost money on because they invested so low with interest rates down, and then they just lost all the money. That's where the earthquake's coming from. It ain't coming into the crypto market. It's coming from banks losing their head over their feet in bonds that they bought for cheap deals because that's what they run on because they don't keep any money on hand like the good old days. So I don't care about the banks. I want their money.
And that's the way the rich think. The rich get richer because they like to use the banks and use the banks to use the bank's money so they can make more money. And in a low interest environment, it's almost like free money. I've talked to a lot of rich people that tell me that. They're like, Rich, you should be borrowing from the banks. It's free money. When we were at 2% interest or 0% interest, it was literally you could borrow and get free money. And a lot of people took advantage of that. And a lot of the rich take advantage of that. So at the higher interest rates, yeah, they don't want to go and borrow at these higher rates when they were borrowing for almost nothing a year or 2 years ago. Why would they want to borrow for 5%, 10%, 20%? So
here's the reason.
It's the rich that don't get concerned about this because they got money, but the poor and the middle income that are struggling, that need a bank loan to pay their bills or need a bank loan to get a mortgage or need a bank loan to open up a new business, those are the people that are struggling right now. And it's the middle income that's getting squeezed and the low income that's getting squeezed through these high rate environments. And we're going to see it soon in the mortgage crisis, because a lot of people were locked into closed rates for the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of those 5-year mortgages are coming due in the next 2 or 3 years. And then those people are going to have a tough decision. Do I pay double for my mortgage now? Or am I going to have to sell my property? That's essentially what their options are going to be, right? Most people are not going to want to pay double, so they're going to be forced to sell. Some might not be able to sell, so they're going to have to lower their prices. That's what's going to drop the market, in my opinion.
That's when the recession kicks in, baby. I mean, that's what's got to happen. But the housing sector's already got to go because commercial lots are already down 70% on commercial lots. I mean, the way when you're rich,
there's so many rich people here, Earl, in Vancouver. Apparently, I don't know if the stat is real, but it sounds crazy. Apparently, 50% of the properties are owned in cash here in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not even that many people that are going to be suffering because half of the people that own real estate own it outright, so they don't even have a mortgage.
Exactly.
So it's that rich get richer and the poor get poorer because they're not going to be able to buy these homes. And the rich, if the market does drop, which seems like it will, because the other 50% will struggle to pay those mortgages. So they're going to have to sell those homes. And if the prices go down, they're going to either have to take a loss or sell for a small gain, or try to rent their property out. So there's a few options, but it's going to cause the market to go down. And some believe it's going to cause the market to go down substantially, anywhere from 20 to 50%, like we've seen in previous housing collapses, like in 2008. So It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I know it's definitely a scary time. And once again, the rich get richer and the poor and the middle income get poorer. And that leads me to my next question for you. What is your most exciting moment or moments as an investor?
Well, the most exciting moments, I mean, they all come, when you look at the numbers and you look at how much money you make. Let's take the rug pull, for example, on the first purchase that I was trying to help somebody. I invest, a little bit and then I make a lot. So in this case, I invested, $3,500. I walked out with a little over $24,000 on it. And then I sold out at 14 and reinvested a little bit so I could actually maximize my potential in case it didn't actually go down. But, when you walk away with that and you're looking at it, you're like, wow, this is actually possible. And then, you look at things like the dead cat bouncing down the road where you're investing in the Terra Luna even after it crashes and you're looking at the percentages going up. Oh, I just made 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 800 times my money in under a week, and or percentages, not 600 times, I wish, but 600%. And you're looking at it and you're like, even during the bear markets, you can make money if you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I've done this entire bear market, is there's money out there. People are losing money, but, it's all being returned back to the market eventually, unless it's going to somebody who's just in it to get rich, cash out, go to Bahamas, Thailand, or something, or, you know, spend it on lucrative things. If they're making their million finally and they cash out, well, it's well deserved. They spend long enough in the markets. They pulled the profits out. Kudos to them. You'll be the next person. I mean, that's what you're going to do when you get there, right? And so it's a great thing, but I mean, it's just so hard, especially like we were just talking about, the rich get richer, and you have to keep money on hand if you choose to be an investor. Don't ever overextend yourself. But even with these bonds, we're getting into the point, even if they raise the bonds, continue raising the interest rates, if you get in on bonds, you'll be making more interest off buying a bond than you will be by investing in all the stocks of the S&P 500. So that's what the rich are going to be switching into if the rates continue to go. Because why invest into something where you're only going to make 5 to 7% of your money when you can invest into a stock or bond that's guaranteed? And it's guaranteed for the life of the bond that you're going to be making the interest of when you bought it. So unless it goes under, or continues to go higher, and then you're losing the value. But I mean, that's what you're looking at. So some of the exciting things, we looked at, I view every new crypto launch as an exciting moment because you never know the probability of it, right? And there's nothing more exciting than coming up and gambling, is what I call it, because you're gambling on small projects that you don't know much about. You don't know the record of it. You've done as much research as you can, and you finally pull the trigger to invest into it, whether you let it launch a little bit and soft launch after airdrops, or you actually get in right through the gate. But I just find the most exciting parts doing the research and learning what the projects are and what they have to offer and seeing how they correlate, and then knowing what the future of the markets will be due to what's getting released and where the next turn will be. Like everybody's saying, NFTs, 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 and then they were all into, oh my God, the next thing is online gaming, and then now we're moving into the metaverse, and what's next? Now we're looking at ETFs, so now we're looking at more financial regulatory power and more governing bodies and more people to actually govern over or watch things, and more avenues for these ETFs to do their trading. So, I mean, we're going to be looking at more continual development within the crypto sector. So, I mean, it's beautiful things, and it's most exciting moments when the markets are always going up, or when, you pull out, a 30x off of something. Even in the bear market, I had one crypto trade. I invested right off the rip on the launch date. I was waiting. I invested, and I talked about it a little bit because I wasn't for sure about it, so I don't want to give out the ideas of the protocol. And then I log back in like a month later, and I look at it because I'd just thrown it off somewhere, and I look, and I'd already made 50x off my investment.
Wow.
One investment,
That's
50x
incredible.
in a month.
That's insane.
Didn't even know it.
That's incredible. Well, let's get into the next question I have here, and it's about Trump. So Trump has been in court for a 250 million trial. They brought his kids in. Now he's going back to court again, and he is asking the cameras to be in the courtroom for federal election subversion trial. What do you think? Do you think that they should allow cameras in the courtroom?
In this one, 1000%, because the man has been nothing but a witch hunt, in his words,
Yeah,
not mine.
which I agree with.
It's been nothing but a witch hunt. Yeah,
Which it
exactly.
has been.
It's been nothing but a witch hunt against him. And you need evidence when you're getting bullied like that. Look at Oppenheimer, right? When Oppenheimer was getting fired for trying to shut down the nuclear program in the United States and across the globe and fighting for uh, keeping nuclear power suppressed and not letting nuclear technology out, when he was the father and creator of nuclear power bombs, of the nukes, they did nothing but tried to convict him rather than get a confession, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing with Donald Trump, except for they don't need a conviction. They just need him to confess something to defamate himself where he will be convicted. So they're not fighting for convictions, they're fighting for confessions. And they're just trying to catch him up on something. So you need the cameras there to try and keep it equal. I mean, same as when you get pulled over by the police, you have the right to record if you have it set up and ready to go whenever it's happening. But in this same circumstance, if you feel you're going to be unfairly treated, why not expose it to the world when it's a global or a nationwide issue in this case that's going to be happening? We already know that they're trying to attack him and they're hunting for him. Let's look and see how he's being unfairly treated. And there's nothing less than they would be doing anyway on the other side. Because if they do get him on something, you bet your darn tushy that they're going to want to publicize it and have it all over TV. But, even in his case, if they do find him guilty of something, but they mistreat him unfairly within the court proceedings, and he can appeal the case, right, due to unfair, unjust actions or judgments, then it makes him look good at the end of the day. Because, yes, he might have done something, but was it worthy of the way they treated him, right? So I definitely believe that, it should be allowed in the courtroom.
Okay, great. I agree. I think they should. I think that these cases against him have been completely ridiculous and unfair, and it's happening right in front of everybody. Even Putin is mocking America, saying, "How can America talk about democracy when a person that is a former president and potentially a future president that's in the middle of an election campaign is standing trial almost every single day?" That is not
Mm-hmm.
democracy. That is the complete opposite of democracy. So, people can say whatever they want about Putin, but he makes a very good point there. Now,
I mean, Putin would just have him off.
yeah, I want to have this time now to go through your top 10 picks for 2024. I'd love to know. You've had some incredible success this year in cryptos. You've had great results overall. And I want to remind everyone that this is not for information. This is strictly for information and educational purposes. We are not financial advisors. We're not telling you to buy any of these picks. But what I wanted Earl to do is share with us his top 10 picks, which are different than mine. In fact, my number one pick is not even on his list, which I find baffling. But everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, and Earl has earned it because he's had phenomenal results. So, Earl, what are your top 10 crypto picks for 2024?
All right, number one, I actually placed in. Oh, do you have my list there? Hold on, let me look real quick. Hold on.
It's
Sorry.
on my phone, which I'm using to stream right now.
Okay, so now I actually have my placement. So number one, I actually have Yearn Finance, right? So Yearn Finance is an actual crazy token. In the last bull market, it was actually at $93,300 per token. It has a 33,000 supply. That's it. 33,000 token supply.
Tight. Tight.
very tight,
Yeah.
very tight. So, as far as money making opportunities or money moving, hello, right? So if it did it last time and it goes parabolical this time, we're looking at what, 120, 150. Bitcoin hits, over $100,000. We might actually break $200,000 on it,
So
which would be
this
crazy.
is your number one pick or your 10th pick?
My number one pick.
Your number one pick. You're in finance. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Because I'm all about risk versus opportunity, right? Because, Bitcoin, even with it being a powerhouse, yes, it's a sure thing, right? It's a sure thing. It's a sure bet. But are you looking to make money, or are you looking just to make 4 times your money? Right?
I have 4 times my money is good because I feel safer owning Bitcoin
Yeah.
than owning some of
Yeah.
these smaller names. So for me, I just personally feel safer. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing with you. I know tons of people that have made millions of dollars buying smaller
Mhm.
cryptos, the Shiba Inus and the different names like you like. A lot of people have done extremely well with it. So there's nothing wrong
Yep.
with it. Crypto is a different world. I always call it stocks on steroids,
Yeah.
And it's the
But
same
but
thing
we're
with
in the bull
stock market.
market, so
To me, like
we're looking at the point. You got to
to me,
make money and then store it in the safe spot.
see, for me, buying Bitcoin is like buying Apple. And
Mhm.
Apple is one of the biggest assets on Wall Street and Bay Street in Canada here, where big companies, big institutions, they all have Apple in their portfolio. It's a staple. Bitcoin is like that. It's a staple. In crypto, you want to build a crypto portfolio that's going to last, you want to own some Bitcoin. Now, is it going to go
Mhm.
up as much as Yearn? Maybe not. Right? Is it going to go up as much as Shiba Inu? Maybe not. Recently, Solana has been on fire, and
Which is my number 2 pick.
is Solana your number 2 pick?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll let you go. I'll let you continue. What's the rest of
All
your pick?
right. So we're looking at Solano as the number 2 due to
Perfect.
its tremendous upside. I mean, we're looking at the golden triangle. We just crossed over it. We're already up a huge percentage just this month alone. And the upside of it, on the parabolical chains, we're looking at a huge growth up to potentially $500, a 10x from here. So I like 10x a lot better than 4x, and it's a little more safer. It has a proven track record, unless it crashes like FTX, which I don't see happening. So in this case, we're doing pretty good. Number 3, I got Kronos on there. It was one
They've
of the
been on
most
fire.
steady. It was one of the most steady tokens throughout the entire bear market. It only had a 90% drop, I think it was. So we went from 50 cents all the way down to 5 cents at the very bottom. We were looking at some of the choices was cutbacks on rewards, and people like, oh my God, the token just went from 44 cents down to 26 cents just because they cut rewards. But I mean, if the token's making more less money, they're going to be able to give you less money. So, and as the rates continue to go up, they're going to be continue to go up. They just rose the rewards back up to like 5.25% on the card cashback. So it's going up as the markets go up. And so we're already looking at a huge upside. I mean, in this month alone, we're already up 110% or 100% right now,
In a
probably
month.
95 because, yeah,
Crow
in the
has
month,
doubled in a month. It's
it's
done
doubled in a
really
month.
well.
So if we're looking at 50% or 50 cents, from where we just was, so that's a 10x right there. But we in the Kronos network, or we're pushing for $1, is where we see it going potentially. Everybody always puts up that 1 penny, $1.10 thing, but Kronos can actually do it.
Well,
It's
from
a
5 cents to a
own
dollar, it's
blockchain.
20x. So that would be massive.
Exactly. It'd be huge. I like it, and it's a smaller token, and it has a lot of utility, same as Ethereum, smart contracts, many blockchains, many ecosystems, all that. So, and then
Who's your number 4?
number 4, I have Ethereum. It's one of
Oh,
your safer bets.
yes.
I
My
actually
number
have
2
it on
pick.
there.
Here's my number 2.
Yeah,
Well, I got Solana
yeah,
on my list and I got Ethereum on my list. So out of your top 4 so far, I do have 2 of them on my list. So we're kind of
yeah,
thinking similar in some ways here. So I like your list so far. Keep
yep.
going.
I have Ethereum just due to the fact that, it is such a powerhouse. It has
Yeah.
a huge upside as we continue to burn. We're looking at the ETFs coming in. We're already up over 30% for the month. And we have high growth rate. I mean, potentially $10,000 for this bull market, and then some people are saying a lot crazier numbers than that, but I'll leave it at 10 to 15,000. is where I'm looking at on potential upside of that. That's another 5x.
From your lips to God's ears, brother. Let's go. I'll take
And
it.
then
10,000.
and then number 5, I actually have Chainlink, which is on the Solana chain, if I'm not mistaken.
Like
It does cross-border transactions, has interoperability, and has a large vastness of utility that actually be done. It's been working with Swift and doing transactions for Swift, and if it can even get a portion of Swift money to process or handle its transactions, then you're looking at a huge upside. It's been working with the UK and regulatory powers and CBDC. So, according to the ISO 2024, we're looking at good numbers along with Quant, but that didn't make my top because Chainlink, I like it just a little bit better on making money, right?
I like Link too.
And
They're
then
in my top 10 for the month. So far out of your 5, 3 of them are in my top 10 for the month.
And then number 6, we have the Camelot token. And that is a rather new one on the scene. It's called Grail. And it currently has a circulating supply of 9,500 tokens.
Ooh, it's tight. Tight.
It's very tight right now, but it has
TV Live.
has a full diluted circulating or full dilution right now of 73. So we're a little ways off, but they've already burnt 27,000 tokens. They have a total supply of 100,000 tokens.
Wow,
so,
we like them tight like that.
Yeah,
love that.
We like them like that. So if my number 1 pick could go up to 93,000 off of a third of the supply, then, the huge upside of Camelot, even if they do dilute, we're still looking at great numbers, if it actually takes off. And then, my number 6 pick is actually a stock, or number 7 is actually a stock. And we're looking at Raise Bio. It is actually a pharmaceutical company that works on biological cancer treatments, right?
Sorry, what's the symbol?
I'd have to look that up for you real quick. I know it's Raise Bio, Rayze Bio.
Okay.
And they actually do cancer treatments, and they're working in breaking new research through the cancer foundations and research for pharmaceutical companies biologically. So I view that it might have a high potential. It's a rather new one that the IPO just came out last month or the month before, whenever Instacart was coming out, and they got released the same week. And I've been waiting for the price to come down a little bit, and it did a little bit, but it's been going up. So I view the upside on that is going to be rather high once everything actually gets more involved. And then my number 8 pick is another stock of New Holdings. Now that is a banking company out of Latin America and South America. And it actually is a crypto bank and crypto-backed bank. And with BRICS happening.
New Holdings?
Yeah, NU Holdings.
NU Holdings.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
And Warren Buffett is actually a huge investor in it. Currently made $250 million this year on it.
Oh, wow.
And I actually brought it to you last year when I found out about it. And so they do crypto, and they are pretty much in all of Mexico and all of Brazil. They have digital banking. So it's digital banking, and they have access to crypto in the bank.
Wow.
And they do same-day conversions. So the huge upside on it has huge potential as it's adopted even more. And let's say El Salvador needs a way to access their Bitcoin for their currencies. What better way than Nubank that's already spread across Latin America, and they'd have access to their Bitcoin.
I love it.
And number 9 is cryptocurrency ordinals. It is a BRC20 token, which is a rather new deployment on the Bitcoin blockchain. So it was the first ever deployment on the Bitcoin blockchain using Satoshis and rewriting coding of a Bitcoin through Satoshi. So you rewrite one Satoshi out of 250,000 that it takes to make one Bitcoin, and you have an ordinal. So it's a BRC20 token. They finally figured out how to launch things on it without creating a smart contract, since nobody owns Bitcoin, right? So we're looking at the first token that's ever been launched on Bitcoin blockchain. That's a smart contract per se, and has its own wallet. It works through NFTs and has its own platform and has other tokens that are being released underneath it, and you can buy them in batches. Now, it has a huge upside being on Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin rises to its 4x potential here in the next 2 years, then we're also looking at ordinals going up. We already went from $2 all the way up to 12 to 15. Oh, I think we hit 19 yesterday.
Almost a 10x.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir. So I love that as well. And then so I still view it has huge potential going up in the future here. And then my number 10 pick is off the wall one. It is Atlantic Lithium Company.
That's a stock, right?
Limited. Yes. Atlantic Limited Lithium. So they mine lithium, and they're one of the larger ones. Now they're mining white lithium, and they got partial contract with the new deposit that was found in Nevada, which is one of the largest on Earth.
Wow.
But not only that, they also absorbed the contract for the new large mine in Ghana.
Very nice.
So now they have new mines coming in. They're working in the creating batteries for electric car booming that's going on. And so the potential on that for them creating batteries and not just China, let's go Australia, baby.
All right. Well,
and
you know what?
that hashtag is actually AI or ALL and AX.
ALLAX?
ALL and then AX.
All right. Well, I love your top 10. Thank you for sharing your top 10. And we must remind everyone that we are strictly here for information and education purposes. Earl and I are not licensed. We're just giving our opinions. Earl's had a great track record, and I'm sure his results will speak for themselves. So feel free to track those results, but don't go and buy them just because you heard them here. Okay, guys, buy them because you've done the research, you've done the due diligence, and you want to get in them yourself. Now, my next question here. It's about the war. So this war that's been raging, obviously you've actually been and you've serviced your country. So thank you for your service, by the way. Obviously a day like today at Veterans Day is a very special, different day for someone like yourself that's actually been at war. So there's an outcry right now over this Gaza crisis. And what's happening now is they are talking about potentially exchanging hostages. And apparently Israel and Hamas nearly struck a deal to free up to 50 hostages. There's been talk that they could potentially put a deal together to release 100 hostages. There's been talk that they could put a deal together to release all the hostages. Now, you've been through this before. What do you think? Do you think that these hostages are going to come home? Are they going to strike a deal?
So they will strike a deal in the end. Now, to come from a military standpoint of the most powerful military on the face of the planet, right, we have to look at what I'm going to say a little bit different than what the rest of the world's going to say. But just speaking from my experience, I can't say what my experience was in the military, but it was on up there and with a lot of information. So, you know, I'm paid to think outside the box a little bit, but the problem with this whole entire thing is everybody wants to include Gaza into Palestine and say free Palestine, Palestine, free Palestine, pro-Palestine, and where is Palestine? Right? So we've been looking at Palestine only wanting to argue with Israel and do nothing about policing up its own country on the other side of Israel or working with Israel to gain access to Gaza so they can police the country themselves. So would it be any less of destruction if Palestine went across Israel and started policing Gaza and sending military there to kick Hamas out? Would it be as much of an uproar? I don't think so. But Palestine's not doing that. So you can't ceasefire with Palestine if Palestine's not freaking involved. Right? But do I view that they're going to release hostages? Yes. Because Israel just agreed to a 4-hour a day ceasefire. That gives them 4 hours every single day out of getting bombed for 20 hours. Right? You have 4 hours to release a hostage. You can release one a day or you can release multiple and be done all at the same time. But you have 4 hours to release one hostage every day, and we'll stop bombing you for the rest of the day. That works pretty good.
Yeah.
When they have no food, no power, nowhere to live, troops marching in on them, U.S. submarines and tanks, or U.S. submarines and battleships in the Gulf and the coast, keeping all those supplies coming from Iran that they were sneaking across the water into Gaza. I wonder why we stuck battleships there. Maybe so they couldn't supply Gaza with rockets that they'd already spent on. I wonder why Iran is saying all the Muslim countries should be backing Gaza and Palestine and providing them with the firepower that Iran cannot without showing that they were involved to begin with.
Very interesting perspective. Now, we're running out of time, Earl. We've only got a few minutes left. So the last question I want to give you is, how did you come up with the name King Earl, or how did this nickname get given to you?
So my actual name is Earl. Originally, I was just running around with my Xbox name and off my Xbox gaming system and my PlayStation. And I was like, I've had this one for a while. I might as well just go Earl. People are going to be calling me a little bit more. Earl's a little bit, more snappy of a name where people will be memorable. It's short. It's sweet. 4 letters, And then I started adding characters to it. It got a little bit more crazy, especially when you're talking to people from different regions, like the Philippines, Asians, and Brazilians and Ukrainians. They have a hard time rolling the R. And so you turn into and so you had to throw something in front of it. So, King worked out pretty well because they can usually all say Kingy because they were trained at a young age across many dynasties of kingdoms to be able to say the word king. And so my girlfriend is actually a live streamer as well, and her name is Queen. And so every queen needs a king, and every king needs his queen. So I just stuck the king there, even though sometimes it's Kingy and Kingy.
I like that story. That's a great story. Thank you for joining us today, King Earl.
No problem. Thank you.
Love hearing your story. Love having you on the show. It's been great having you. This is our 25th episode. Time just flies by, and it's always fun when you're making predictions and things are going well. I know you're doing well in crypto. I've done well in crypto. So hopefully you guys at home are doing well with crypto and doing well with investing, and hopefully we'll be able to help you guys through your journey. And hopefully these videos and these interviews and these shows can help you understand the markets a little bit more, understand what's going on in the world, in some of the trending topics that are happening. Obviously, there's a war that's happening, and it's very sad, and we're just wishing for a path to peace. Really, that's all we want in all the different wars and everything that's happening in the world. And we also want to thank all of our veterans, and we want to remember all of our veterans all over the world that have fought in wars to keep our country safe. So once again, thank you for your service, Earl. And thank you for everyone that's watching. If you're not winning, you're probably not watching. I'm your host with the most, your boy Rich from Rich TV with the Bull and Bear Show, episode number 25. And King Earl, anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
Roll Tide. But
no,
yeah, just everybody keep your chin up. It's not the end of the world. Most of these wars have already been accumulated into the markets, so it's already correlated. So the markets aren't going to be affected by them too much. There's been a couple of strategic movings going on in Iran and North Korea. So just keep your eye out on that. Germany moving things around the Baltic. And so just keep your eye out for parts of that going on. But, North Korea is going to start feeling that oil shortage as Venezuela starts flooding the market and Russia ain't getting paid as much. So it's going to drive some people to do crazy things. But, keep your eye out. The world will change. And it all starts with you voting for Donald Trump in 2024.
All right, we'll end on that. Thank you, King Earl. Thank you for everyone that's watching. I'm Rich from Rich TV Live and the Rich TV Live podcast saying have a nice day. We'll see you soon. Earl, thank you very much, buddy. We'll see you later.
You're welcome, sir.
Cheers.